This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. But man, it is a pretty legendary type situation where you've got this NWA touring champion that everybody wants and everybody wants to get a date on, but he has to sacrifice pretty much everything else going on in his life. And we don't really talk about this era very often, but I've always sort of made the analogy that the NWA at the time was almost like a miniature mafia of sorts. You had this NWA convention that would get together once a year and it was closed off, and you had the heads of all the territories, almost like they would say the heads of the 5 families, and they would discuss all their business together, including who was going to be the champion. Right. Did you have that feeling as a youngster, when you're growing up in the wrestling business that, hey man, this is sounding awfully familiar?
Yeah, it was a unique community, to say the least. The promoters would make the owners would make the decision as to who the champion is going to be. And there was always several candidates. Bill Watts was even a candidate at one time. He ran from it because he had his own territory. He was making money, and he was being able to dictate and control the schedule. Ted DiBiase was a highly thought of option. I know he was up for it one time. Dick Murdoch was a strong candidate for the NWA title. But the promoters that knew him knew that, Dickie was Dickie. He could be Schimpf of the Three Stooges. He'd do all the funny stuff. And a lot of the old guys didn't like that. But as far as working and being 6'5" and 270 and being able to be a babyface or a heel, being able to cut promos, Murdoch was right in the hunt for that stuff. But his own in-ring style worried the decision makers. So they'd go to that convention in Vegas, and it'd be decadent, great food and a lot of booze, and the wives were there. And I've seen pictures. I'd never gone. That was before my time. I had not earned that right to go to the Alliance meeting. Now, Leroy McGurk and his wife went every year. That was a big deal. So, and they got to see everybody's kind of reunion-like deal. Then they did their business. So, and then took their votes and all those things. So, you're right on the head about the nonviolent mafia aspect of the NWA. And it was, everybody had their little, it's like going to a political convention, quite frankly, and you'd have people touting this candidate and so forth and so on until they came up with when they did their vote, and there you went. So, but it was a big deal, that NWA thing. And they love Jack. Here's Jack's biggest supporter probably was Eddie Graham. And Eddie Graham had a lot of influence because Eddie was widely known as probably one of the smartest bookers of all time, and built that territory from scratch to one of the most desired territories to work in. He didn't have any state tax. He had great weather as a rule. All the trips except maybe 1 or 2 were by car. So it was a really cool place to work, and Eddie had a lot of. So when a guy had a top talent, here's how they would protect that. Let's say that Leroy McGurk had a top talent, and the talent had run their course and they kind of wanted to leave. Maybe the monies were soft or whatever, and they needed to be booked. So McGurk would call Eddie, and Eddie would book them. And then so now the talent goes from Oklahoma and our crazy ass weather, dodging tornadoes and things like that. So to go to Florida and live in the sunshine. Well, so long for the sunshine state of Georgia. Gordon Soley, loved him. So that's kind of how that works. So then what does all this mean? It means that when that talent who left McGurk and went to Tampa, well, that's where the office was, when they were done with Tampa, Eddie would steer them back to McGurk. It's trading, getting good talent to stay or come or whatever. So that was kind of how that worked. So Eddie was a key figure in that, and Eddie was a big time player in the alliance meetings and the convention.
It's always been fascinating to me just to hear about the politics of the NWA World Champion. And hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.